Annyeonghaseyo, all my beautiful people. How are you doing today? And welcome to the Alternate Point of View. My name is Tracy Lee, and you have found yourself here at the Alternate Point of View, where we are going to talk about, yes, again, Michael Jackson Bolanos and possible prosecutorial misconduct during his trial. And why are we going to talk about this? Because this is very important information for hopefully future trials, future precedent. Does that make sense? Future precedent. Anyway, I have been going through this trial because this is a trial that never should have happened in the first place. So, welcome everyone who is new to this channel. Welcome everyone who has been ever so faithful to my channel. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. But this is the alternate point of view. And the reason why we are going back through this trial is because I am giving my alternate point of view. So we are going to talk about several things, mainly some evidence that I find to be questionable, and that is the video surveillance evidence. Now, I looked up case law, which there is none of, for video surveillance evidence, and that is there case law to determine what type of video surveillance is allowed to be used? And is there any type of restrictions on video surveillance that can be used? And the reason I looked that up is because the video surveillance that was used in the Samantha Wall trial, God rest her soul, is very choppy. It is very blurry, and it was Frankenstein together, and the timestamps were off. And they didn't describe whether or not the timestamps were off above or below. They just kind of fudged the timestamps, basically. There were times that the detective said the times were 4 minutes and so many seconds off, but he didn't say were they 4 minutes under or were they 4 minutes over. So it was not correct. Now, I did, when I researched case law, find out that video surveillance really is not allowed to be used if the timestamps do not match, but it is under the judge's discretion. And she is allowed, or he is allowed, to tell the jurors that this video evidence is to be taken basically in the jurors' hands and by their own discretion. They can look at this as evidence or not, kind of like a witness testimony. They can decipher if they want to take witness testimony as real or not, which is kind of a catch-22, especially when your life is on the line. You know, if the jurors want to decide if a person on the stand is telling the truth or not, or if they want to determine what part of your testimony is real or believable or not, or whatever, or if they want to determine what evidence they are looking at is real and believable or not. I don't know, whatever they want to decide, because it is in their hands. Of course, your life is in their hands. Yeah, makes total sense. So I wanted to talk about this because during the trial, there were a lot of questions from Brian, the defense attorney, when he was asking a lot of the detectives, a lot of the police on the stand, where is this video surveillance from Lafayette Towers? Because they saw another figure leaving the scene at 1:24 a.m. that looked very similar to Jeff Herbsman, who is Samantha's ex-boyfriend, who did in fact confess to taking out Samantha Wall that night, October 21st of 2023. Now, he confessed after calling 911 on himself and saying that he believes that he took Samantha out of this world And then he retracted that by saying that he was overly medicated on a new medication that his doctor put him on. And that was sufficed to that satisfied the detectives, that satisfied everyone, and he was given use immunity and able to walk scot-free. So then they plucked Michael Jackson Bolanos up off the street and pieced together this video surveillance and a timeline that I decided to Google map and decipher how long it would take him to get from one location to the other by walking. And if Michael Jackson Bolanos were in fact the person who committed this horrific crime, it would have taken him a lot longer than the 0 seconds that the prosecution has given him to commit this horrific crime. So I first want to start off with the prosecution opening statement, just a piece of it, because again, I want to point out what the prosecutor stated in his opening statement, because it's very important, this piece of opening statement that he said, because I think, again, it's very telling what he said in his opening statement, because...
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a reason that we lock our doors at night when we go to sleep. It is because of people who lurk in the night, people who could do us harm. And this case is about one such person, a person who you will see on one particular night prowled through our community, looking for opportunities to go into spaces that weren't his to go into, and to take things that were not his to take. And the most important thing that he ended up taking that night was the life of a woman named Samantha Wool, who you will hear was a somewhat prominent member of our community, the president of the downtown synagogue. And on the very last night of her life, on a night when someone was lurking in her neighborhood, she left her front door open. She gave him an opportunity to take from her. And that mistake turned out to be tragic, because at her home, at a place where she was supposed to be safe, she was stabbed to death. And the evidence in this case is going to show you that the man who did this to her is this man right here, the defendant, Michael Jackson Bolanos. They didn't catch him until close to 6 weeks after her death. But when they did, he still had her blood on a jacket that he wore that night and on a backpack that he wore that night. Now, I want to walk you through the evidence that you're going to see and hear throughout this case, but I want to frame some expectations and some understanding up front, because when Samantha Wool's body was found outside of her home on October 21st, 2023, her death was a mystery at that time with very few leads. And you're going to see that this case was investigated by something called the Homicide Task Force, which includes homicide detectives from the Detroit Police Department, investigators from the Michigan State Police, and personnel from the FBI who worked together to identify Samantha Wool's killer. And part of what you're going to see in this case is the many steps that were taken in this investigation to show you that this was an investigation that started out very open-ended at first, with other suspects, other persons of interest looked at. And the investigation used cutting-edge investigative techniques, including forensic data from various sources, including forensic science, to zero in on the defendant. And I want to caution you, the presentation of this sort of forensic data, it's not splashy. Despite the camera that you're going to see in the courtroom throughout the trial, it shouldn't be dramatic. It's tedious. It's time intensive, which is why this trial is going to last so long. So I'm going to ask for your patience throughout this process. And that's especially so because for the first few days of the trial, you're not going to see any evidence even directly implicating the defendant. Instead, we're going to show you the same evidence that investigators had to work with at the early part of this investigation, the same clues that they had, the same limitations that confronted them, and the same foundation of evidence that was ultimately put into place that led them to the defendant.
Okay, so as you can see, he literally victim blamed in the first sentence of his opening statement. He blamed Samantha Wall for leaving her door open, supposedly, allegedly, and giving someone an opportunity to go into her home. He blamed Samantha Wall for her demise. And then he goes into the fact that they had no real suspect, according to them. But yet, in the actual press conferences within the first 48 hours, they had a suspect that they weren't willing to name and give the relationship of. If you go back and listen to any of the Detroit police chiefs' press conferences, he actually says they had a suspect. They were not willing to disclose the relationship between the suspect and Samantha Wall. And then right there, you hear him say that you will not hear any evidence linking the defendant, Michael Jackson Bolanos, to this crime, that they had to piece together evidence to link Michael Jackson Bolanos to this crime. Now, I don't know about you, but if my life were on the line and it was in the hands of 12 strangers, I would want to be absolutely positive that they had evidence all neat and buttoned up and be without a shadow of a doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt, that they had evidence to prove that it was me. But you heard the prosecutor literally say out of both sides of his mouth that the evidence would show, but then he said they had to piece together evidence to show that Michael Jackson Bolanos was the one who did this. So, no, they didn't have evidence for Michael Jackson Bolanos. They had to piece it all together and make it look like Michael Jackson Bolanos did it. This wasn't a case that was open and shut, which is why the trial lasted so long. If you look at other trials that last so long, you will see, especially in a red rum trial, this is why they last so long, because they have to drag it out because they don't have a slam dunk case. Look at the trial, for instance, with Wade Wilson in Florida. That case did not last very long because they had hard evidence to show that he, in fact, took out those two women and he was given the DP. The trial with the wife in Florida who buried her husband in her yard, that was pretty much a slam dunk, and she was found guilty. You can look at the case with the man in, I believe it was Tennessee, where he took out a woman and put her in a freezer in his own house. I mean, that was pretty much a slam dunk, and it did not last very long either. Most cases like that go to trial that only last a couple of days or a week or so, those are done because they did it. There's evidence. There's video evidence. The woman in Florida who took out her husband in the garage and pew-pewed him in the garage in the back. That lasted a couple of days, and she was sentenced to life. So, yeah, those cases only last like less than a week because they have the evidence and it's on video or on the phone or what have you. But this case lasted over a month because they didn't have any real solid evidence. And I'll show you why, because this violent crime task force sergeant pieced together this video. And I also want to remind you that the majority of the cameras that they got this video from is owned by the Gilbert Foundation in Detroit. The Gilbert Foundation, the Gilbert family in Detroit, is a huge family, and they own a lot of the buildings and real estate in Detroit, and they are also major donors. You can just look on the Isaac Agree Downtown Synagogue website, and you will see their name at the bottom of their website front page, where they are major donors to the Isaac Agree Synagogue, and they have given over $500,000 to the Isaac Agree Synagogue. Well, coinky dink, they own most of the real estate in downtown Detroit, and they also own most of those cameras that they got the video from to follow Michael Jackson Bolanos downtown in Detroit. So I would call that a coincidence, although there is no such thing as a coincidence in law enforcement or criminal justice or whatever, as we say. So let's take a look at this timeline that they're trying to go off of. Now, remember, the prosecution is saying that Samantha Wall was taken out at 4:20 a.m. on October 21st, 2023. There is no time of death on her autopsy report. There is no time of death given by the medical examiner or the coroner or anyone. Sounds kind of weird, right? They are literally going off an ADT motion sensor, not anything else, not an actual blood test, not an actual stomach content test, not an actual lividity test, not an actual anything to do with her body test. This is all off of a motion sensor. Now, again, they are trying to claim that Michael Jackson Bolanos went into her home and pokey poked her to death 8 times in a violent struggle in the head and neck and face in 0 seconds, and then was able to get back across the interstate in 3 to 4 minutes. Now, this walk takes 8 to 10 minutes, by the way. We're going to look at this timeline. So we're going to go to this video with Sergeant Lance. We'll find out his name. I just know it's Sergeant Lance. But we're going to
pretty much touch all the cases we work on. I have a specialty in forensic video. I do a lot of video analysis work.
And how long have you been doing video analysis in connection with specifically homicide investigations or other violent crime?
That is his name.
I started in 2009.
Okay. And back in 2009, what was your role with the Detroit Police Department at that time?
That was assigned to homicide.
And
so we're going to skip through to his timeline.
I spent 13 years in homicide, so I was an officer in homicide. I handled...
Okay, and as part of your investigation, did you have a system there?
We're going to skip on through to his timeline
west of,
so that I can show you.
Actually, independently to confirm, to make sure we're looking at the green light here.
Okay, and working with Rock and Special Agent Brian.
Okay, so here is the timeline.
The second location that's labeled as number 1. What's that location?
454 West Alexandria.
And what's the significance of that location in terms of the overall investigation?
That's the, it's an apartment complex, and that's the initial place that we began tracking the individual that we were tracking, and also is the last place.
So we're
this
going to
person
go all the way
Okay.
through until
And
we
so
get to
when's
the end of the timeline.
The track.
That is on October 21st, 2023, 4 a.m.
The crime scene.
That is to the west of the crime scene.
Okay, so this is the timeline. Okay, as you can see with the timeline, he leaves his apartment. He actually had a bag in his hand when he left the apartment. I don't know where that bag went, but 58 minutes later, he arrived at this 1405 Rivard. This is a 43-minute walk, according to Google. It took him 58 minutes. Then he ends up at this location, 1544 East Lafayette. This took him 30 minutes to get there. That is a 9-minute walk, according to Google. Then he goes from East Lafayette to White and McDougal. This took him 54 minutes, and this is a 21-minute walk. So he's either a very slow walker or he is up to no good. But either way, he's taking his sweet time walking through downtown Detroit. Then he goes from White and McDougal to Spinnaker. Okay. And this took him 7 minutes for a 5-minute walk. So it was pretty normal walk. Then he goes from Spinnaker to East Jefferson, where he's supposedly climbing the wall. And that took him 36 minutes, and it is a 22-minute walk. And this is where he gets another bag, apparently. And then he goes to East Lafayette again, and you can see his path. So this took him an hour to walk from 1 to 2. And then he goes from 1 to 2 to 3. And then goes from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, back to 7, and then 8. Okay. So at 4 a.m., he is at Lafayette. So they say he's at 7. Okay. This is the Samantha Wall area. Okay. And it took him 36 minutes to get from 6 to 7. And it's supposed to be a 22-minute walk. Now, the prosecution is saying that at 4:20 a.m. is where she supposedly was attacked. Okay, this is when it all went down, was at 4:20. Now, at 4:22 a.m., according to her ADT alarm system, her system went idle. Now, we have discussed this before in the past. In order for your system to go idle, there is no movement for 2 minutes. 1 to 2 minutes. Your system has no movement. So if her system felt movement at 4:20 a.m. and for it to go no movement and go idle at 4:22 a.m., that means there was no movement for 1 to 2 whole minutes. How in the world is it possible for Michael to have attacked her at 4:20 a.m.? It begs to question. Then he somehow miraculously gets from number 7 to number 8, which is, according to Google, this is an 8 to 10 minute walk, a minimum 8-minute walk. But he got there by 4:24. Now, if he was supposedly attacking her at 4:20 a.m. and manages to get to 1211 Chrysler at 4:24, it is literally impossible for him to get to Chrysler at 4:24 and be attacking Samantha at 4:20 a.m. It is not possible. Not possible. But what even is crazier is that when the video even skips. So we're going to go back to looking at this video. We're going to continue watching because I want you to see, this is just the timeline that they showed, but we're going to watch the.
So it's on the west side of 75.
So
Okay.
I want you to see the video. So
And
here's
in
Michael.
the screenshot, can you see where 375 is in relation to the subject?
Yes, sir.
And where is that?
It is. It's at the top of the screen. There's a guardrail. It's on the other side of that.
Okay, and so coming from the crime scene, would you have to cross over the freeway to get to this point?
So I also want to point out that this detective never says that this is Michael Jackson Bolanos. He says the subject, the person. He never actually says this is Michael Jackson Bolanos. I want to point out that this is probably the only detective that doesn't say this is for certain Michael Jackson Bolanos. He's just identifying this person by the same outfit that he's wearing. But I want you to see, as we go through this video, that now these are just still shots that he took from the video. So again, we don't know who this person is other than going off of when he left the apartment in the first place. So when he left the apartment, we'll go back and you can see when he left. Here's when he left. So when Michael leaves his apartment.
Okay, just starting at the beginning of the video here. What's the location that's called out at this point?
This is Michael leaving. He has a bag of some sort in his hand. Now, he is dressed in black. This is what he looks like.
Sorry, I'm going to go back for a minute. Just at the very beginning, stopping at 5 seconds into the video. What's the location that's called out here?
Homicide scene.
Okay. And then this second location that's labeled as number 1, what's that location?
454 West Alexandria.
And what's the significance of that location in terms of the overall investigation?
That's the it's an apartment complex, and that's the initial place that we began tracking the individual that we were tracking, and also is the last place that this person went.
Okay. And so when does the video begin the tracking process? What's the time reflected there?
12:42 a.m.
Okay, and is this just a still image that we're looking at from that location at that time?
Yes.
And what's the second location? We backtrack.
Now, here's the thing. How do you know that's him?
1405 Rivard.
How do you know that's him? How, if your life was on the line. Your life is on the line. How would you like for you to be identified that way? Now, Kim Worthy herself has said that she would not allow her own prosecutors to try cases using facial recognition surveillance because it is unfair to the Black and brown communities, because it is not right. She said it herself, but yet you can use this kind of surveillance and it gets worse. It gets worse in this video. So let's continue. This is a still shot image, and it may be Michael. It very well may be, because they are tracking his cell phone, okay? But regardless of that fact, you will not allow your prosecutors to try cases with facial recognition, but you will allow them to try cases with your entire face covered up? That's amazing, Kim Worthy. Amazing, Detroit.
And moving on, is this a still image of video from that location?
Yes, it is.
And what's the time reflected here?
1:44:38, and that would be AM.
And why is that little box that the time is in kind of disrupted compared to the rest of the video?
Because that is that's the actual correct time overlaid.
See, correct time overlaid. And you see where he said, why is that disrupted? See, it's copy pasted. This video, this picture, this still shot is altered. This is an altered photo. Why is this allowed? Because this judge allowed this to happen. This judge allowed them to put this on this picture. That's what she did. She allowed this to happen. We know this isn't even correct. That we don't know that because she allowed this evidence in with them putting a time on here by them saying this is the correct time. We don't know that. We do not know that.
Onto that video. Remember,
is that a modification that you made to reflect the accurate time on the video?
Yes, like I explained before, the times that weren't accurate, I wanted to make sure I could line those up to the real time.
See, the times that weren't accurate. He modified this video. He modified these pictures. This is what I'm talking about. This is not allowed. This is something that I did look up. I did research. I did find that video surveillance as evidence, video evidence is in criminal trials is not allowed if it has to meet certain legal criteria. It cannot be tampered with. The video must be authentic and not manipulated, tampered with, or falsified. The video must be from a reliable source and lawfully obtained. The video must be relevant to the case, and the video must not violate any privacy laws. This entire video has been altered, manipulated, and tampered with. The time is not even correct. So this is completely wrong. Completely. So video evidence is admissible, but this entire video has been completely altered, totally altered and manipulated, as he so said himself on the stand. So listen to that again.
Image of video from that location?
Yes, it is.
And what's the time reflected here?
1:44:38, and that would be AM.
And why is that little box that the time is in kind of disrupted compared to the rest of the video?
Because that's the actual correct time overlaid onto that video. Remember,
is that a modification that you made to reflect the accurate time on the video?
Yes, like I explained before, the times that weren't accurate, I wanted to make sure I could line those up to the real time. And this is an example of that.
So you notice how he used his words so wisely. He didn't say manipulate. He said that he modified. He's trying to be very, very, very easy about the words he's using. So, yeah, he's being very careful. He doesn't want to say the wrong thing.
And that location, 1405 Rivard, how close is that to the scene?
Do you want me to point to it, or you mean like mileage? It's a quarter of a mile. Like,
Okay.
Your Honor, is he speculating, or did he actually measure the exact distance from this location to the scene? Sound like he's speculating.
That's
Yeah,
fine. I'll move
he's
on.
completely
We'll establish that
speculating.
later. And so between these 2 points, points 1 and point 2, are we going to see video on the overall compilation video between those sort of points in time?
yes, sir. Several.
Okay.
So,
And just moving on, what's the next point reflected on the map? The next location and time?
Ducharme Apartments that we referred to, 1544 East Lafayette.
Okay.
The time is 2:16 a.m.
And what's the significance of this
30
screenshot
minutes it took
reflected
him
here
to walk
at 31
a
seconds in the
9-minute
video
walk.
relative to that location?
So that's a photograph that was given to me, removed from a phone.
Okay. And did you do anything? I'm going to just jump back really quick to what's been admitted as Exhibit 48. Oops. Have you seen this video before?
Yes.
And did you do anything to look into the potential location of this video?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury what your sort of process was to try to verify the location of this video?
Yeah. So myself and Detective Bloom, Sergeant Bloom, I'm sorry, went to the Ducharme Apartments based on the information from the owner of that car, where the owner parked the vehicle, and actually went to the parking space and found the location.
Okay, and how was it that you were able to find the specific location?
Number one, he had told us where, and then the other piece, I didn't do the analysis. There's a series of oil spots on the ground behind the vehicle that matched up with the location that we had gone to, that parking space with those spots. Very similar.
Okay. And going back to Exhibit 77. What's the next time and location reflected here?
The time is 3:05 a.m. and the location is White and McDougal, which is an intersection.
Okay, and again, in the overall compilation, are we going to see some video between these 2 points, 3 and 4?
Yes.
Okay, and just moving to the
And
the
who is
screenshot
okay.
here.
Who is that? Do you guys have any idea who that is? Who is that? Your life is on the line. Who is that? I'm just curious because this is a very serious charge. Like you are on trial for taking someone's life, and this is what you're going to use to prove that I did it. This is what you're going to use. This is unbelievable. I'm shocked, but not shocked.
What's the location of this particular screenshot?
White and McDougal.
And what's the significance of this particular screenshot?
The individual that I was tracking, walking away from parked vehicles, carrying a bag.
Okay. And is there any significance to that bag, I guess, going forward in the video as we move forward?
Yes.
And what's the
Yeah.
significance?
So originally, when I started in on this investigation, in that parking lot of the school, looking west, there was a person carrying a bag, and that was the bag. So I was tracking the bag backwards. And the significance is this is the point where the person picked up the bag.
Okay. And if we move forward in the video, what's the next point and time reflected in the
So
video?
it's 3320 Spinnaker Lane, and it's at 3:12 a.m.
And what's the significance of the
And who is
screenshot
that?
immediately following that?
That is the person I was tracking, actually going over that wall, climbing that wall, and then from there, that person then stepped onto the parking structure located on the right side of the screen.
And
are
then
you
interesting
personally
thing about this
familiar with
video.
this specific area that's depicted?
So these are still shots. So interesting thing about these videos is when we get to the actual video. So we're going to go to the actual video. And the interesting thing about this video, when we actually watch the video, is
Color, style, the North Face emblem on it, the dark shoes.
so he's got something in his hand. They're just totally
Okay,
disregarding that.
video 12 seconds in.
He has he has a handkerchief in his hand, which has white on it. So he's leaving.
And this next area, starting at about 35 seconds into the video,
And who is
this
that?
next area that we're looking at, where is this?
No idea.
area?
This is 123 Selden,
Green
which
circle.
is a Detroit public school. This area is just south of the apartment building 454, and
Okay.
just to the east of the
There
building.
was white on the
Okay.
It's
handkerchief.
just up around the corner, up to the left. the
And we
apartment
see
building.
the green circle.
Don't see
that was
any
reflected
white.
in the video. Is that something
Yes.
that you put in the video?
I did.
Okay.
Oh, wait, what? He's something he put in the video, the green circle. Okay. Here's him walking in a green circle. A person.
You may sit down during this part if you'd like, or you can stand.
Oh, you're so nice, Judge, to the prosecutor. You can sit. There goes the green circle and a blob walking. And now he's out of sight. Out of sight. Don't know who it is. Don't know what's happening. Anybody? Anybody can help figure this out? That would be great. Just a green circle. Your life is on the line. Imagine your life is on the line.
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit
See,
here.
he's going to skip ahead because this is what you do when your life is on the line.
Skipping ahead to 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Did you do something to speed up the video throughout that point too?
Yes, I did.
Altered the video, sped it up. A man's life is on the line, you guys.
And this time that's reflected here, is that consistent with real time or a difference from real time?
No, this is real time.
Is it though? Is
And at
it?
about 4 minutes into the video, what's the real time that's reflected here?
12:53:30 a.m.
And again, approximately how far away is this location reflected here from 454 West Alexandria?
About a block.
So
Block
see,
and a half.
he's taking his sweet time. He's not doing anything. He's literally chilling. If this is him, he's just chilling. Do you see him checking cars? Do you see him doing anything? Do you see him in some crazy rage looking to take anybody's life? Speeding up the video. it skipped. It skipped. Video skipping.
Skipping ahead to 8 minutes and 30 seconds. And what's the time reflected now?
12:58:14 a.m.
Now, remember, he had a handkerchief in his hand that had white on it. I don't know. I don't see any white. Whatever he's wearing on his face has no white on it. And also his shoes, his sneakers, had a reflector color on the back. There's a blob. I don't know what that is.
And what's the location now that we're looking at, starting at 9 minutes and 15 seconds?
So we are on Selden Street. This is the north side of the school, and the camera's looking east towards Cass Avenue.
So still in the general area of the last portion of the video?
Yes. Same camera system, just a different camera.
Now, during this general portion of the video, did the subject appear to be using anything with his hands?
Yeah. There was it appeared to be emitting a light. The individual was holding this object near his head or their head area.
A phone. Just walking
And starting
along.
at 10 minutes and 5 seconds, what area are we in now?
This is this camera is actually looking the opposite direction of the last camera, so it's still on the 123 Selden building. It's looking to the east, and the road on the right side is Woodward Avenue.
So the subject's moving towards Woodward then?
Correct, walking east towards Woodward.
Now, you've reviewed this video quite a bit, is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair.
And was there anything relevant in this portion of the video in terms of the investigation?
Yes, sir.
And what was it, I guess, if anything, that captured your attention in this portion of the
Yeah,
video?
so where the individual walks captured my attention because they actually end up going the opposite direction. But near this, literally in the center of the screen, there's a couple of vehicles parked there. The vehicle to the far left, the trunk is open on the vehicle. And then reviewing the video prior to this, about 10 minutes prior to this, there's a group of individuals that pulled up with those vehicles. They got out, they got into another vehicle, and as they were driving away, that vehicle latch opened up.
So the
So
door was left open.
the door was left open, yes.
And he didn't touch it.
And our subject walked north on Woodward, is that correct?
Correct.
And he
North
didn't
on
touch
Woodward
it.
past the building, temporarily out of sight.
So what does that have to do with the price of eggs in China?
And this is at what time again?
This is 1:02:07 a.m.
And is our subject back in sight now at 1:02:15?
Yes.
Kept walking.
And so at the tail end of that clip, at about 12:35 into the video, which direction down Woodward was the subject walking?
It would be south. So on the video screen, it was kind of like near the center towards the right.
Okay, and would that be toward downtown?
Yes, sir.
And again, it's a green circle with a person in it.
And starting at 12 minutes and 40 seconds, what's the source of the video we're looking at here?
If I could refer to my timeline report for the address, this is an apartment building that I downloaded the video from the green light.
Sure. Do you have a copy of your report handy?
I do.
And would it help to refresh your recollection if you looked at it?
It would.
Literally don't know who that
That'd be
is.
3501 Woodward.
Okay, and do you see the time reflected up here of 5:06 a.m.? Is that accurate with real time, or is that the green light system time?
That is the green light system time.
And what would be the real time once converted?
That'd be 106
Okay.
a.m.
And is Woodward visible in this view here?
Yes, it is.
So
So
where is Woodward?
it is near the center of the screen, and it's actually traveling from left to right. There's a dark colored vehicle that just walked by. That person's kind of paralleling Woodward.
Okay, and heading in what direction on Woodward, north or south?
South.
Okay, and starting at 13 minutes and 5 seconds into the video, what's the source of the video at this point?
This is Illich Holdings, their security system. This is down near
Green.
Little Caesars
and
Arena.
And is this still Woodward visible in this video?
Yes, it is. It's yes.
And what's the time reflected at this point in the video?
1:12:25 a.m.
And I'm going to stop at 13 minutes and 53 seconds and go back to Exhibit 54. Can you point out the general area
This is the cell phone
that you're
tower.
looking at here on the video on Exhibit 54?
Yes, this would be on Woodward Avenue near this area right in through here.
Okay, so just before hitting the freeway?
Yeah, north of the 75, which runs right, left to right near those green dots.
Okay. I'm going to resume playing the video at 13 minutes and 54 seconds. What's the source of the video we're looking at this point?
This is also Illich Holdings.
And again, what's the time reflected on this video?
1:14:04 a.m.
And are we still on Woodward?
Yes, walking south.
And how about now starting at 14 minutes and 15
Okay,
seconds?
so
on the
this
video?
camera's
see-
part of Illich Holdings cameras, but it's pointing east on
How
the,
tiny?
on 75 Service Drive. And the Service Drive is the predominant street in the area here. And then from that top left, kind of angling down to the right is Woodward. And the individual I was tracking is walking with the green ellipse on.
Yeah, just in terms of Exhibit 54, can you point out the intersection of 75 and Woodward?
Yeah, that would be right in this area, right in here.
And 14 minutes and 33 seconds into the video. What's the source of the video here?
This is Illich Holdings, and the building we're looking at on the right side is part of Hockey Town.
Okay, and what's the road that's right here at the top
Yeah.
left hand?
You
That's
cannot
that's
tell who
Woodward.
that is.
Woodward Avenue.
And what's the time reflected here?
Ooh, looks like 1:18:06 a.m.
So still heading southbound down Woodward?
Yes, I'm sorry, that was 1:16. I apologize.
Okay.
Yes, continuing
And-
south.
And again, going back to Exhibit 56, where would that general location be?
That would be kind of near the center left portion still of the screen here.
And resuming at 14 minutes and 50 seconds. What's the source of the video here?
This is Illich Holdings also.
And still, is Woodward still visible?
Yes, there's traffic traveling from left to right up on the top. That's Woodward Avenue. And this is Montcalm Street.
Okay, and so now the subject has left Woodward and going down Montcalm, is that
Walking
correct?
west down Montcalm towards
And what's the time reflected at this point?
about 1:17 a.m.
And 15 minutes and 30 seconds in the video, are we still looking at Illich Holdings video?
Yes, sir.
Are we still looking at Montcalm?
Yes, approaching Park Avenue.
And it skips. The video skipped. And you can't see anything.
Okay, starting at 15:56 into the video, what's the source of the
Can't
video
see
here?
any-
This is
Anything.
Illich Holdings also, and this is a camera that's affixed to a pole near a parking lot.
And where's the subject at this point?
Subject near the top left, there's a green ellipse that was around, and it turned from Montcalm to southbound Park Street.
Okay, and just briefly stopping at 16 minutes and 20 seconds into the video. What's the source of the video?
This is Illich Holdings again.
And what's the time reflected at this point?
Boy, tough to see. I believe it looks like 16:58 or 18:50. If you could play it, maybe it'll clear it up a little bit. No, it's not helping. Okay, so it's 18:58 a.m.
And what's the
1:18.
intersection that's reflected here?
Oh, boy, that's a tough one. I
Oh,
don't know.
that's a tough one.
Dead ends in the park, I don't recall offhand. That's what we're looking at, is that the direction is south.
Can't even tell.
Avenue.
And if we go to Exhibit 54, can you point out the sort of general location?
Yeah, so this is being Woodward right here, so it's a block over west of that in this particular area right here.
Okay,
Yeah,
kind
where
of
it
near
says
Foxtown.
Foxtown, where the words are, yes.
Okay, resuming the video at 16 minutes and 25 seconds.
You can't even see him.
And stopping at 16 minutes and 40 seconds. What's the source of the video here? Still Illich Holdings?
Yes, sir, it is.
And still same general Foxtown area here?
It is, yes, still traveling south.
Can't see anything. This man's life is on the line. This is how.
And
See,
starting
look.
at 17 minutes and 15 seconds.
Picture in
into the video,
picture.
what's the
They
source of the
altered this
here?
video.
So
Look,
this is,
this is what you're using?
Security,
Okay.
and this is affixed to an apartment building or hotel up near the roof looking.
this is
looking
what they're
down.
using.
But what's the intersection or the general area where the circle is depicted
Right,
here?
so that is Park Avenue, kind of flowing like in a
Wow.
horseshoe shape, and the street that's going from right to left
Wow.
near the center is Park Avenue. Oh, I'm sorry, Adams Avenue. West Adams.
And this call out in the bottom right hand corner, is this a zoom in of the same footage?
It's a street level camera, and they're synchronized.
And what's the time reflected here?
Oh, 1:21:21 a.m.
And again, if we go back to Exhibit 54, can you
Okay.
kind of point out the general location?
Yeah, so that might be hard to see, but Park Avenue is kind of horseshoeing, bending right here towards Woodward.
So this is all the cell phone towers that he's supposedly pinging off of. The cell phone data specialist got up here on the stand and was like, if I had to pinpoint every cell phone tower, it would be virtually impossible. So you're in downtown Detroit. There are umpteen thousand cell phone towers. This kid could have hit every cell phone tower. This is a very small area. He could have pinged off all of these cell phone towers at one time, but they're trying to pin him down onto one cell phone tower. He literally could have pinged off of all of these towers at any time in this location. So they're literally trying to say because he was walking down here, he pinged off this cell phone tower. This makes no sense. He could have been pinging off any of these cell phone towers, even though your phone will try to ping off the strongest cell phone tower, but we don't know what kind of service he had. We don't know if he had excellent service or if, you don't know. Your phone might ping off of this tower over here. It might ping off of this tower over here. It might ping off of this tower over here. You never know. It could be pinging off all the dang towers. But regardless, the video footage is literally the worst video footage. And you don't even know if that is him. It could be anyone. And they're going to show that later because they're going to say another man is him when it's not him.
So this is like in this particular area right here, right near that green spot on the screen.
Okay, and zoom in the video at 18 minutes and 13 seconds. And starting at 18 minutes and 30 seconds, what's the source of the video here?
This is Rock Security also.
Rock Security, by the way, don't forget, is owned by the Gilbert Foundation, owned by the Gilbert family, who is a major contributor to the Isaac Agree Synagogue in downtown Detroit. So I'm not saying, and I am saying, they are biased. So if you want to pinpoint one person who you want to pin this crime on, sure, they'll give up all of that. And if you want to be a police department who's trying to pin this crime on this one person, you could leave out other footage. Sure. And what is this? What is this? Who is this? This is a green circle around some, looks like construction fencing. I'm not even sure. I don't see a person in there. How can you follow a green circle? You could just put a green circle around anything and say that's him. That does not make sense. Make it make sense, people. Make it make sense. That just make it make sense.
And what's the general area that we're looking at?
So we're looking north on Washington Boulevard, and near the top of this screen is
A person.
there's a park right there, and Adams Street is on the other side of the park. And Woodward now would be to the right side of the screen.
Someone walking. Could be him.
And so which direction on Washington Boulevard is the subject walking right now?
South.
And are you able to see what time is reflected here?
Yes, it's 1:23:52 a.m.
And stopping at that moment, does the subject appear to be wearing any gloves at this point?
Not on the left hand that I can see.
Okay, and then going back to Exhibit 54, can you kind of point out that general area of Washington Boulevard here?
Now we're getting into right on the edge of this purplish blue arc, just on the side of that, just north of that.
Zooming the video at 19 minutes and 25 seconds.
Now we've not seen him check a single car because he's out doing all this criminal behavior. Haven't seen him do anything but walk.
And at roughly 19 minutes and 55 seconds, what's the source of the video here?
This is Rock Security.
Rock Security. You're going to hear that a lot because they own everything.
Is there subject still walking southbound down Washington Boulevard at this point?
Yes, sir.
And 20 minutes and 45 seconds into the video, what sort of view do we have here?
So this is a Rock Security camera, and this is a camera that's up on a building looking down. We're looking south on Washington Boulevard.
It's a blob. It's literally a blob. So the reason why I'm going back over this and why it is so important is because if you are looking at the coulda, woulda, shouldas of a trial, this is important. Going back over this video surveillance, going back over this testimony, looking at the flaws of a trial, looking at the judge's decision to allow certain testimony in, to allow certain evidence in, to prosecute someone. Also looking at the district attorney. This is Ryan Elsey, who is no longer a district attorney in Detroit. He now works for the DOJ. These are people who are trying to close a case very quickly. These are people who did lackadaisy investigating. These are people who literally just wanted to put this person back in prison. So when your life is on the line and you're depending on this type of evidence, like, who is this person? You know, what in the world are you doing? And it's also to educate jurors. And if you are ever going to be called to be a juror, you want to understand what you are looking at. You want to understand that someone's life is on the line. You want to understand that this prosecution has a high standard to uphold, and that is beyond a reasonable doubt. This is reasonable doubt. This is reasonable doubt. We don't know who this is in this video. They had to copy, paste, cut and splice, modify, finagle, whatever they had to do to put this video together. And there's more. It gets worse, you guys. This is just a small example of what they did in Detroit to put this person in prison. This is a farce. It is a joke. So it is important to go back and look and see and replay this, because this could be you. This could be your son. This could be your daughter. This could happen. It does happen, and it is happening every single day. So this is important to go over, because it is clear that we are not holding our officers accountable, we are not holding our prosecutors accountable, and we are not holding our politicians accountable. We are not holding people who are in these positions that we vote for accountable. And that is a problem. That is a major, major problem. So until people start getting up and voting on their city, county, state, local levels, then we will never fix this. We will never get this fixed. But I want to point out everything that is happening little by little, and until someone listens. If people don't start listening and understanding and paying attention to these things, or until it happens to you, do you need it to happen to you till you understand and listen? I'm not really sure what is going on in this country or in this world, but does it need to happen to you? Do you have to wait until it happens to you before a change comes? Because this kind of stuff will continue to happen. But this is a little bit of an education for me. It's an education for everyone. If you ever get put on a jury, you have to understand the prosecution has to uphold beyond a reasonable doubt. Beyond a reasonable doubt. And this is reasonable doubt.
And starting at 21 minutes and 45 seconds, what street are we looking at now?
Grand River.
And where's Washington Boulevard?
Washington Boulevard will be near the top of the screen. And that's Woodward Avenue, right near the center of the street that we see right there is Woodward.
But you can't even see anything. You can't see anything.
And is this all still rock footage that we're looking at?
Yes, sir, it is.
You're telling me that there are no other cameras in all of this area, all of the buildings that he passed. There's not a single other camera, only rock video, only rock. Not a single other business has a single camera in this entire area, just rock video. No one else, no businesses have cameras. None of the traffic lights have cameras, just rock. I find that very hard to believe.
And 22 minutes and 25 seconds. What's the intersection that's reflected here, if you remember?
I don't recall that intersection, but it's the individual still walking east on Grand
See?
River.
Look at that. You can literally see these people's faces. You can literally identify who these people are. You cannot identify that individual right there. But Kim Worthy won't let you use that footage to no facial recognition in Detroit. No, ma'am. Don't know who that person is in that green circle. You could put a green circle around any of these people. But Kim Worthy won't let you do that. Not to the black and brown community in there. But yet she's putting more black men in prison than anybody else, than anywhere else.
Roughly 23 minutes and 15 seconds into the video. Where are we looking at now?
Don't know who that is.
East on Grand River, heading out kind of towards Gratiot.
And just pausing briefly, if we go back to Exhibit 54, can we point out approximately where we're looking at there?
So that would be kind of like still in this downtown area near.
Here's the crime
there's these
scene.
3 green dots right here. It says
He's
Bush
been
Street,
walking in
there's
this area
is
this
the west
entire
and left of
time.
that.
So starting to move east.
Yes.
Okay, resuming the video, 23 minutes and 27 seconds.
See, that should not be allowed.
And what's the source of the video at this point at around 24 minutes?
This is still Rock Security.
Rock
And,
security.
how about now, just a few seconds later?
All right, now this is a cigar shop. This is not Rock Security.
How do you know?
Now we're.
And 24 minutes and 30 seconds. Are we back to Rock Security?
Yes, sir.
And what's the general location that we're looking at now?
So now we're looking at Gratiot Avenue. From that right to left, there's a vehicle traveling up to the left. That's Gratiot Avenue split. Split lanes.
How about now at 25 minutes into the video?
Yep. So again, this is Rock Security. We're the road right in the center is Gratiot Avenue. From left to right meaning we're calling eastbound Gratiot or heading out of downtown. North.
In all these areas you've looked at so far, did you see any other subjects matching similar or the same characteristics as the subject that you tracked?
No.
Okay. That's a hilarious question because how does he know what characteristics they are when this person is behind trees. They're showing aerial views from above the city. I'm sorry. This doesn't make any sense. Like, literally make it make sense. Okay. You might ask, why in the world are we going back through this when he is supposedly not supposed to be retried? There is a Supreme Court ruling that, of course, for double jeopardy, right? He was acquitted on the first charge, the main charge, but they were deadlocked on the other two charges. Well, the DA's office is going to appeal and try to charge him on the lesser charges. That I would love to see them do that, because supposedly they're not supposed to be allowed to do that. But the DA's office wants him so badly for this, they're going to try to do it anyway. And they're going to use the same evidence that they have here. That is why it is so important to go over this evidence again, because if they're going to use this same evidence, I have to find everything with all that I have for them not to be able to use this evidence, because this is flawed. It is cheated. It is altered. It is modified. It is completely non-usable evidence. This isn't even evidence, because we don't know who that person is in that green circle. We have no idea. So I'm going to stop sharing this right now, and we'll go back through more of this video evidence, and we're going to go back through evidence that Brian, when it gets to be his turn to cross-examine, we're going to have some more detectives, cops, whatever, that get on the stand. And I want you to see their demeanor, their attitude, their responses, because they clearly show, obviously, bias, because they don't want to be wrong. They clearly want to be right in what they have done. But I want you to see their attitude, because I want you to see that if I were a family member, if I were someone who had lost a loved one, and this is how the police act, this is how detectives, their behavior, the way that they treat a crime such as this, I would be absolutely devastated that they act and behave this way, and their attitude is just garbage, because that would show me that they have zero interest of literally trying to find out who took my loved one's life, and more interest in, I had to leave my dang house for this. I mean, excuse you? Yeah, you had to leave your dang house. My sister is gone. My daughter is gone. You best believe you had to leave your house. So, yeah, there are going to be some things that you're going to find in this case that are absolutely appalling, and it's going to make you want to look at police departments or police or detectives in a way that is not flattering. But unfortunately, that is a lot. I don't want to say a lot. That's some officers, some departments. But this is what my point of this case is. It has brought out a lot of things that have made me see that the way police departments handle things, the way that they get their evidence, the way that they get their confessions, the way that they treat people in order to get information is, in my alternate point of view, is wrong. There is a Supreme Court case called Frazier versus Cupp that I believe should be overturned. I believe that it is outdated, and it is allowing police departments to be entirely too deceptive, and allowing them to gain confessions that are false, and allowing them to gain information from people in order to put people in prison that shouldn't be in prison. And it is allowing them to put charges on people that shouldn't be allowed to happen. It just shouldn't be. And also, I looked up the difference between being detained and being arrested. And apparently, there really isn't much difference at all. The only difference is that if you are detained, they don't have to read you your Miranda rights. And they can detain you for as long as they like. Some states have it to where they really can only detain you for about 72 hours. But technically, being detained, you can be detained as long as they want you to be detained until they get the information they want to get out of you. And they don't have to read you your Miranda rights, just so you know. And you can be handcuffed while you're detained, but you are not under arrest, which is really, really interesting. So that is just telling me that police can do whatever the heck they want. And I don't think that that's fair. Also, Michael was found guilty of lying to the police, not guilty of this horrific crime that he was put on trial for. And he is in prison for up to 15 years for lying to the police. Yet police are allowed to lie to you. I don't think that's fair. I think that's very wrong. Much like the other day here in Texas, we saw a motorcycle cop drive down the center line. In Texas, it is illegal to drive down the center line, but a cop did it. So it's okay for cops to do things, but not okay for you to do it. So keep that in mind when you are out there doing something you're not supposed to do, but it's okay for cops to do it. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. Yeah, it's a-okay for the cops to do it, but not okay for the public. So who's keeping the checks and balances? Who's checking the checker? Nobody. Nobody is. Nobody's checking the checker. Nobody's keeping the politicians in line. Nobody's figuring out that why are they rich and we're still poor. Nobody is doing that. Nobody's checking that. So, yeah, I'm a little heated about it. I'm a little troubled by what's going on in this country. How is it that politicians go from being just regular folk to rich as hell, while the rest of us are still trying to figure things out and trying to pay our bills and feed our stomachs? Just, curious about that. Why is it that cops are allowed to get away with whatever they want? And here we are getting tickets and, paying fines and paying tolls and all kinds of other shenanigans going on. Meanwhile, they're allowed to do whatever they want. DAs are allowed to bring charges for, the craziest things, but there's other cases out there that they're not bringing charges for. So yeah, it's kind of baffling, kind of baffled. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what your alternate point of view is. So please let me know. And we were going to go over some other things in this channel. I'm going to talk about a case that happened in California, in Fontana. And it is a very similar situation where cops lied to a person to get him to falsely confess. And this is why I feel that Frazier versus Cupp is time for an overturn, and it is time for new legislation to be passed to keep checking the checker and ensure that police officers do not cross the line when it comes to suspects or persons of interest, and ensure that they have evidence before they go in and talk to people that they may or may not think did something. And also because it will ensure that they are not doing this whole stop and frisk and all the other crazy things that they are trying to get away with doing in and to civilians and people who are, in fact, paying their salaries, even though it is a very small salary. And I do agree and wish that they were paid more. And I do back the blue, but I don't back the bad ones. I appreciate everyone who is watching and supporting this channel. Please like, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you think about the analyzation of these videos and trials. And please again, subscribe and share and tell your friends. Leave a comment. I answer all comments. I appreciate you all so much. 감사합니다. Thank you.